Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here for wearechange.org, and it has indeed been an extremely crazy day with packages supposedly carrying pipe bombs being sent to the offices of Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and CNN addressed to former CIA Director John Brennan. Now, looking at this with open eyes, obviously it appears that this is an attack on the left and, of course, left media personalities who were in government. But, folks, is that the case? On the other hand, on the other side of the spectrum, there are people already claiming that it has been confirmed that this is indeed a false flag attack to make Trump supporters look even worse and try to steal the midterm elections. But what is the truth? What are the facts? Well, we're going to go over every single thing that is publicly available so far. But I do want to remind everybody that we are sponsored by you and you alone. And without you guys, well, We Are Change just is not possible. With all the internet censorship, with going beyond the shadow banning and now outright banning profiles on Facebook and Twitter for doing something as simple as sharing memes. We need your support now more than ever. So if you can, go to wearechange.org/donate. Make that small donation and allow programs like this one to be able to continue in an ever more rampant censorship environment on the web. Now, these bombs, we're looking at one right behind me here. They look extremely crude. And this picture, of course, published by CNN. And we're going to get to that package much later on. But what is actually going on? Well, of course, you have outlets like InfoWars saying that this is confirmed to be a false flag attack. Now, obviously, I think that is indeed jumping the gun. There are just not enough facts out there to support that it is incontrovertible that this indeed was a false flag attack. Now, should we be looking at all angles? Absolutely. This could be a false flag event. This could be a mentally disturbed individual. This could also be a mentally disturbed individual, much like the Unabomber, that has technical skills. Or is it? Well, they all failed. So that does not seem to be likely. For instance, in the Austin bombing case, those bombs actually went off in many cases. And so far we have no reports of any of these explosions actually taking place. Now, of course, the media is taking note that outlets like InfoWars are calling this a false flag attack. It's too coincidental. MAGA Land calls bombing threats a false flag, and this one is out of Vanity Fair. And folks, I just want to comment for a moment how false flags have now hit the cultural zeitgeist, that whenever there is a major event, within minutes, not even hours, the theories are out there. And now within hours, not days, the mainstream media are covering these ideas. Now, once again, I am reserving judgment as to exactly what happened and what is going on. Because we have to remember, this stuff has kind of been going on a little bit longer than just today. We want to label this the MAGA bomber. Well, that may be true in this case, but to associate this person with the president, with the right, although it was a left-leaning attack, we don't know that for certain. Now, although Mike Cernovich has been one of the people that I feel has covered this somewhat fairly today, he did make what I would call a pretty ludicrous comment when he said that there was a possibility that maybe this bomber had somebody who was attacked by or hurt by or possibly killed by Antifa. That's stretching it. And that's stretching it big time. We don't know that this is a right or left issue. And I want to remind everybody that it was not so long ago, in fact, just a few weeks ago, when we had Ricin being sent to the Pentagon, not only to Mad Dog Mattis, yes, James Mattis, our Secretary of Defense, but it was sent to a high-ranking naval commander and to Donald Trump himself. They didn't really cover that nearly as much in the media as they are covering this. And it may or may not be because we're talking about ricin instead of explosives, or it may or may not because they were targeting right-wing figures. Now, also on that day, two people in Ted Cruz's office were rushed to the hospital. That was extremely suspicious. However, the packages that were sent there did test negative, and in the end, the letters that were sent to the Pentagon were actually the castor, I believe it's called, or castor seeds. Yes, the castor seeds that ricin is produced from. Now, if you see that right there, this man was actually arrested, and he spent 4 years in the Navy in his late 30s. There's been no media circus and very, very little coverage surrounding this event, but it was rather quick. They found this guy extremely quickly. So will they find this perpetrator extremely quickly as well? And will the media just shut up about it? I find that highly, highly unlikely. And of course, President Trump has already come out and decried these attacks, as any sane person would. Obviously, you gain no real political ground, no real political influence whatsoever by doing something like this, and it is extremely mentally deranged. If you want to move the needle, you need to get out there, let your ideas be known, organize with other people, and go the route of non-violent resistance and power through information. And I know that's tough, and it's becoming tougher and tougher by the day. But that is the truth of the matter. Now, one of the other things that we really do have to talk about is the fact that George Soros only days ago had an explosive device put into his mailbox outside of his upstate New York home. And I believe it was in Westchester County. Now, supposedly an aide found this, brought it out to the woods, where it was taken care of by experts. Now, they're also saying whoever did this walked this up. It would seem really coincidental that you would have this happen to George Soros only days before they began to trend on Twitter. People were talking about it, Soros being targeted. And of course, George Soros is talked about a lot by certain conservative and alternative media outlets. Now, I'm not defending George Soros. In fact, we've done many videos exposing George Soros for his globalist ideas and ties. He is by no means some kind of a benevolent man. But was he actually targeted? Is this part of a larger psychological operation? Again, I have no idea, but I do know that they still haven't picked the person up who supposedly walked this explosive up to Soros's mailbox. Now, I also want to direct our attention to the fact that John Brennan, a person who Seymour Hersh named as part of the attempted coup d'etat against Trump in manifesting and making up all of these Russian allegations that have become the Mueller probe, okay, the package was addressed to him. And here's where the questions begin. Here's where we're really going to look at something. Now, let's take a look at this package for a moment. Now, number one, we've got a couple things wrong. For instance, Florida is spelled wrong. Okay? Spelled wrong right there. Brennan is spelled wrong. Now, most of you, like myself, will say, well, those are just typos. You know, maybe this is really the work of somebody sloppy after all, and these explosives haven't gone off. Here's where my question comes in about this. And of course, this was addressed from Democratic operative Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who, of course, is infamous in all sorts of Democratic circles, okay, especially those Obama circles. In fact, Luke Rudkowski once confronted Wasserman Schultz. Here's the part that does not sit right with me. When you look at this, it doesn't look postmarked at all. Take a look. There are 6 stamps there. I don't see any postmarks whatsoever from the post office. And then we have this post, and I'm just going to read it verbatim. Here's the biggest area where the story collapses. They are now claiming that the bomb received to DWS office building was actually intended to go to Eric Holder, but had the wrong delivery address and was therefore then returned to the DWS office. That makes the timeline and chronology totally inconsistent. It is simply not possible for a parcel to have been returned to sender and reach the sender by the very same day it was strategically mailed to reach the intended addressee, in this case, Holder. In other words, folks, if it got returned to sender, it would have been impossible to be discovered on the same day. That's a great point. There may be some other explanation for this. Now, again, I want to throw caution to the wind and say that we need to look at all the facts and see exactly what they're saying and what evidence is out there, and possibly who they parade out in the next couple of days as the perpetrator before we go making any wild accusations or assumptions. As always, if you like this video, please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Get the email list. Sign up today, folks. Follow me on Twitter @JasonBurmis, and be the change you want to see in the world.